This is the Alden Report.
Hey, it's Mike Alden. I hope you're enjoying the Alden Report as much as I am. I love bringing to you new and exciting people that add value to your life. I'm also super excited to announce my latest book, Bestseller Secrets. Listen, if you're an author, maybe you're thinking about writing a book, maybe you've already written a book, maybe you're an entrepreneur and you want to continue to grow your brand, maybe you're an entrepreneur and you want to bring in more leads, maybe you're a stay-at-home mom and you wrote a cookbook or a children's book, maybe you wrote a fantasy book, a self-help book, a tell-all book, a novel. It doesn't really matter. In my latest book, Bestseller Secrets, I give you all the information that I've literally spent millions of dollars trying to figure this thing out, and I'm going to give it to you absolutely free with my book, Bestseller Secrets. Go to bestsellersecretsbook.com. Again, it's bestsellersecretsbook.com. I give you all the information that I've spent literally millions of dollars trying to figure this whole world out. My books have gone on to do amazing things. I'm a 3-time Wall Street Journal, USA Today bestselling author. I've hit number 1 on Amazon hundreds of times. My books have been the number 1 book in the world against all books in every category. And I've also done this for other authors. And I'm giving you this information absolutely free. Just go to bestsellersecretsbook.com. You got to pay a small processing fee, but it doesn't really matter, again, because I've spent millions of dollars. And here's the other secret. You can do all this stuff yourself. If you don't have a team, that's okay. If you don't have a lot of time, that's okay. You read the information in my book, again, whether you just started writing a book, whether you've written the book, whether you wrote the book years ago, and you want to kind of resurrect it. In my book, Bestseller Secrets, I show you exactly what you need to do, and I'm giving you the book absolutely free. Go to bestsellersecretsbook.com, download the book, take that information, use it to become a bona fide, legitimate number 1 bestseller. I show you how to become a number 1 bestseller in less than 24 hours. And again, I'm giving you this information for free. Go to bestsellersecretsbook.com. Again, it's bestsellersecretsbook.com.
This is the Alden Report.
All right. Well, my name is Michael Alden. We are here in Blue Bay Studios. And, I am continuing to rock my 99-cent glasses. Some people like them, some people don't like them, but I don't know. I'm just going to kind of go with it. I'm super excited to be here. I'm super excited for my next guest. His name is Jefferson Santos. He's a best-selling author. He's a motivational speaker. He's an entrepreneur. He sold over $2 billion worth of stuff. I want to hear, what kind of stuff he's been selling. And we also think the same way. We like to, we talk about the struggle. He's struggled like we all do, and he's made it big, and he's continuing to do big things for people. Please help me welcome Jefferson Santos. Jefferson, thanks so much for being here, man.
You bet, Mike. I'm excited, dude. Here we go, man. We're talking about the shirts and all the stuff beforehand on our pre-call. So
yeah,
excited,
it's almost like we did this on purpose, but we didn't. Well, I kind of did. I was looking at your stuff and I was like, I think I have a shirt very similar. What do they call it? Athleisure?
Yeah.
Athleisure wear or athleta wear, something like that. But so you have a really interesting background. Again, we didn't even really talk pre, because I wanted to talk about this on the show. But before we talk about our commonalities, I'd like for you to just kind of tell our listeners and viewers a little bit about your background and kind of how we got here today.
Yeah, you bet for sure. So I grew up in the Dallas, Texas area. Parents are from Brazil, and my mother, raised my sister and I. My parents divorced when I was 4, and we didn't really have a lot. She had 3 jobs. I mean, busted her butt. One thing I learned from her was, hard work, and she always figured out a way to get at least one present for me at Christmas and a couple presents for my birthday, and she just made it work. And so, when I lied about my age when I was 14, got my first job, and I went to the U.S. Naval Academy, played some football over there, also played football at TCU. So my background's always been around teamwork. And the funny part about those 2 universities is I played in the football teams, and we had a losing record. But each year I left each university, they won a bowl game. So I miss both of the freaking bowl rings, dude. Like that, for any young athlete, that's like validation that you're like worth the shit, So it's like it was tough. It was tough for that situation, but one of the things that I learned through that, and I learned about myself, and I think that, obviously people, those of us that are listening right now, you're wanting to get better. You're wanting to learn, what are the little nuances about people that are successful or whatever. And I knew who I was. I knew that I needed to study more. I knew that I wasn't the fastest kid or the strongest kid. So I had to work out harder in these types of things. So I think over time, Mike, the collective compounding of knowing that I had to do the extra work, I guess kind of paid off. Maybe, I don't know. I just knew that I had to do the extra work. So I wasn't afraid of work, or else I was going to be stuck in the crappy kids club. So I try to hang out with the cool kids by being in athletics, because I didn't have any cool clothes.
Crappy kids club. I like that. I like that. So, you touched upon a bunch of different things there, but, you talked about, compounding, right? And, and I'm on your website, which is, you have a couple, but I'm on your jeffersonsantos.com website, and you have a great speech there, or actually it's an article as well on Medium, I believe, about doing the little things that make the big difference. And my second book, 5% More, is that exact concept. Tell us a little bit about, and you touched upon it, is, you weren't the fastest, you weren't the strongest, neither was I. I played Division II, then Division III football. And so,
Awesome.
tell us a little bit about really what that means, because there's a lot of people out there, and, I can text Greg Cardone now. I was on his show, Power Players, and he was on my podcast a couple of times. And I think a lot of people, when they see just the title of that book or that movement, they in fact, right now as we're speaking, there's a big event going on in Miami, and all these 10Xers. I think a lot of people, they don't really understand what that really means. So tell us a little bit about how the little things have a big impact.
Yeah, I mean, it was funny. I was on a show yesterday, and I was talking to one of my friends that was interviewing me, and we were at a leadership event, and it was his first time at this specific leadership event. It was, you had to achieve a certain level to be at this event with our company, and he was kind of looking around, and I knew that he was new, and I knew that he was kicking some butt, and so I walked up to him and I said, "Hey, you belong here." And I just did that word of encouragement, that little bitty thing I didn't know made this impact. He literally tells that to everyone for the last 9 years. So that little bitty thing that was just something that I normally do, right? It became a big thing to him. And that was crazy. Here's another quick story. When I was going from the Naval Academy to TCU, there was a couple months there where I was kind of doing my own little spring training camp, so to speak, because all the scholarships were gone at TCU. So I had to walk on. And so I don't know if you remember East Bay catalog, with the strength shoes and the parachutes and all that stuff, man. Yeah. I'm buying everything in there, dude. I'm trying to get fast, right? And so I would work out in the mornings, do the parachutes and the sprints and all that. Then I would knock on doors in the afternoons to sell siding and roofing and windows and stuff, like just trying to make some extra money before I went to college. And I just knew in my head, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to have to go in with the freshman, even though I was a junior. I have to go in with the freshman 2 days earlier. And I've got to be the first one in the drills. The coaches have to know who Santos is, or else I'm not going to have a freaking shot. I'm not going to even see the freaking field, So I was just in my head getting up when I didn't want to get up, doing the workouts by myself. That's one of the hardest things for weeks on end, to do a workout by yourself, especially when you're like in a team sport, And so it was those little bitty things. I finally got my 40 down to 4.4, and obviously I was able to play. I didn't start. But I played special teams. I played receiver, mainly on second, third downs, things like that. I was more of a utility player, but it was those little bitty things over time. In that I was like, here, the other thing in my head was, what's the alternative? Am I just going to show up and go up? No, it doesn't matter how much you visualize. You still have to work out your muscles too.
Right.
You know what I mean? You got to do both.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting too when you say that too. When you think about the progression of life, and let's just start with high school. So high school, you start out as a freshman, you just climb the ranks, and then but then you get into college, and when I went to a small school in the Northeast, and we were D2 when we came in, and we dropped to D3, and then we came competitive. And it's the high school hero, college zero thing, right? And so, tell us a little bit about. Obviously to play whether it's D2, D3, especially now D1, right? Because you were D1, right? That's D1.
Mm-hmm.
Just to make it to that is a big deal. Even just walking on and making it to the team. But tell us a little bit about kind of the mental state of like, man, like I was a stud in high school. You're from Texas, man. So like I'm from Mass, and I met kids from like you from Texas. And it's just the kids that grow up on farms or Pennsylvania or Florida. Like I went to a camp in New York, and I saw what other kids were like. And I was like, I thought I could play D1, but then I realized this guy's like you. But then you get there, and it's a big achievement, but you don't play a lot, right? You know what I mean? And you have to walk on, and you go to a different school. Like, tell us about like what that's like, because mentally it's gotta kind of just suck a little bit.
Yeah, it does suck. It's like stuck in the middle suck, right? It's like, what the hell am I doing with my life? So it started in fourth grade when I was playing football, and like every year we'd lose. And the thing is I was a pretty good athlete, but we had other good athletes, but we had to win as a team. So I always had to prove myself, underdog. For me, like as a receiver, I always knew I was going to get open so then I can catch the ball. That was just my thing. Like even when I was struggling as an entrepreneur, and I'll pop back to football in a second, but even when I was struggling as an entrepreneur, I would go to the front row of these seminars by myself because I didn't have a team with me or whatever. And I would expect a front row seat, like the second or front row, because people come in groups and there's always like some extra seat with a bunch of coats and purses in it, So like literally I would walk up to the front row and look, and 9 times out of 10, I'd get that front row seat. It was just an expectation. And like, I just always figure it out. And it was like me and that person on stage, like a one-on-one coaching session for like a weekend. Right. But that was my mentality all the way through. And so then when I get to the Naval Academy, obviously people are bigger, stronger, faster, and everybody there is a valedictorian or salutatorian and all this stuff. Right. So we get our ass handed to us, dude. So like, we're there as a freshman, we have 3 upperclassmen kicking our butt the entire freshman year, sophomore, junior, senior, they're kicking our butts. And so, we get there, they shave our heads, they take away all our civilian
stuff that
clothes.
You cannot do now. And you end up going to jail if you start doing that stuff now, but right.
I know. Right. And so I'm sitting here with my, military regulation clothes, and we're all just the same now. Here we go. We're going to break us down and build us back up. And I was like 185 and like 5% body fat when I checked in. And then after boot camp, I'm like 165. Like I've lost like all my muscle and stuff. So I'm in the summertime, like pounding protein shakes in between meals, trying to gain weight again, for when football starts, like a couple of weeks later. It's nuts. So here's the thing. Every day is a new day. Every day we put on our cleats and we get on the field, and guess what? People get hurt, and you got to be prepared for when that guy or the person that's starting, and if you're in women's sports, obviously if the girl that's in front of you is starting and she gets hurt, you got to be ready. Luck's when, preparation meets opportunity, right?
Sure.
And you got to prepare for the moment. And it's like every single day I'm like, I'm going to get a shot. I'm going to get a shot. So what was happening is I would get little small victories. Here's my victory. They have a scout team, right? That's the opposing team playing against the starting defense, right? So in practice, the starting defense needs to get a good practice to prepare for the next team. So the scout team is obviously the team that's playing offense against the first string defense. Well, I was the star receiver for the scout team.
Right.
Like that
also,
was like
also known as the practice squad, essentially.
Practice squad, exactly.
Right. So and your job was really just to get the shit kicked out of you, really.
Exactly. But here's where my head was at. It's like, holy shit, I'm playing the first string defense, so this is my chance to get better.
Right.
And like literally, there were times where it's like, do I do really good and make them look bad? Not that I was some star athlete. I'm not, what I'm saying? Like, but there were times I'm catching passes across the middle, right in front of the linebacker's face. He's either going to take my head off or I was going to catch the pass. Either way, I'm trying to get a starting position. I'm trying to get noticed. Right. And so that was just that mentality of like putting myself in a position to perform. And I think that for all of us, that's where courage comes in, man. It's like when somebody asks you to speak or asks you to do something and it's a little bit scary, say yes anyway. And just figure it out.
That's a really interesting dynamic too. For those, who haven't played organized sports, especially a physical sport like football, and to be on the practice squad or to be on the second team and to perform at your absolute best drives the first team insane. Because they're like, this is practice. And they're like, who's this punk? Like, what is he doing? And sometimes you are going to get lit up, especially if you're coming across the middle. But in life, though, it's the same thing, right? So if you're given that opportunity to shine, you got to shine and not necessarily worry about, the haters or the people that are going to try and bring you down. Because again, it's a reflection of life, right? Because the first time you get on stage and people are like, who is this guy? And then a lot of people are hating on you and even trying to take you down, like mentally and just, and through these other things. But it's really interesting, again, dynamic, like human dynamic, right? It's like when you go across the middle and you get lit up by the senior linebacker and then you get up, like they don't like you, right? That's the thing is they're pissed off at you, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then sometimes I don't really hang out with the linebackers, so I never really had to talk to them anyway. So it didn't really matter. I'm hanging out with the receivers and the running backs. But, It's just one of those things where, in this day and age though, and the beautiful part about the internet and podcasting and videos and all this stuff is you can give credit to people. You can edify people back. It's kind of like, hey, I heard from Grant. I heard from, Brendon. I heard from Tony. I heard from whatever. And you could say, quote where you got it from, or at least, or say a few of their names and say, I got it from one of those guys,
Sure.
and all of that. And so, and that's another thing is, if you're the person, if you're listening right now and you're wanting to become a speaker or, do things, it's like, listen, just go do it. And you know what? Pull people up with you, edify the people that paved the way for you. And I'm telling you, it's harder for people to hate on you when you're edifying the people that help you get there on the way up, because they'll kind of draft you, kind of like NASCAR. They'll kind of put their arms around you a little bit because they remember you when. And I think that as we climb up, whatever ladder we're climbing up, to remember the people and the relationships that we develop all the way to the top, because when you do fall down, they'll help catch you. You know what I'm saying? And that's one of those things where I've always made friendships. I don't like to make enemies, obviously, but sometimes that's not my fault. That's just other people judging or something like that. But I've done my best job that I could, so I could lay my head down on the pillow at night when I go to sleep. I did my best to serve the relationships and honor the people that help me. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's a key thing, especially today, because everybody's recording everything and listening to everything. So it's important to not act like, hey, I made all this up and it's all me. I'm a self-made millionaire. Bullshit, man. Everybody's a team-made millionaire, like somehow.
Yeah,
right?
we hear that people talk about, the self-made stuff. I do want to transition now kind of into the business world, and what you've done in business, and your story is interesting. It's a common story with entrepreneurs. But we are on with Jefferson Santos. He obviously is a dynamic guy. He is a former college athlete. He's a motivational speaker. He's also a best-selling author, and he helps people all over the world. Even in what's going on right now, the pandemic. You can connect with him virtually. So if you do want to connect with Jefferson, you can just go to connectwithjefferson.com. You can also just find him right on Instagram and Jefferson. So it's Jefferson F Santos on Instagram as well. So if you're just listening or you're watching right now and you're like, I want to connect with this guy, that's a great way to do it. And also we were kind of connected through Clubhouse as well. So he's on Clubhouse and he's doing some great things there as well. So let's talk about business. So you have a story that is a common thread throughout entrepreneurship, but I've seen it on all your websites to talk a little bit about it. So you kind of started out your journey in entrepreneurship. You were in debt. Not only were you in debt, but you were negative in your own personal bank accounts. And then banks literally kicked you out. I've had that happen to me before. Tell us about that and that journey. And what do you do when you're just, when you say on your website, when you get burned by life, like how do you fix that, man? Because it's hard.
Yeah, it sucks. Well, first of all, I got to, acknowledge where you're at, right? It's like, here's, you are here on the map, right? It's like, yeah, that freaking sucks. That's the thing. And I remember the mailbox, like, okay, so I'm living with my mom and we're splitting the rent, even though I'm living with her, but hey, we're splitting the rent. And I have to go walk over to the mailbox every day. It's like, an apartment complex is usually there's like a mailbox area, right?
Right.
And I hate going over there. It's kind of like one of the lights were out. It's kind of flickering. There's always these flyers on the ground. I just hated going through that mailbox hallway because I knew when I opened that mailbox, it was more stupid bills that I had to pay that I didn't have the money for. And so that was like in my book, I call it the mailbox assassin. Just like my ego was assassinated every time I went to the mailbox. No checks, just bills.
Yep.
But here's the thing. I was lucky enough to have to be able to get plugged into personal development at an early age. 25 years ago, I was 20 years old. And
hold on, let me do the math. Okay. All right. So now I know how old you are. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So 45. So back then I'm listening to tapes, right? Then CDs. Tapes back in the day, dude. Yeah, man. I have my Saturn car, my 4-door Saturn, man. Listening to my tapes, man.
Zig. I heard you said you said on a couple of your things. I'll see at the top. So obviously you're a fan of Zig, and Zig talks about that being he said his secretary had her PhD from Automobile University.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I had just to meet him before he passed. God rest his soul. Over here in Dallas because he lives in Dallas.
Yeah. I went to the 59th anniversary of his 21st birthday. We actually did an infomercial with him. Yeah, we was over there at the Gaylord is it in Houston, Austin? I don't know, somewhere in Texas.
There's a lot of Gaylord resorts, but yeah, there is one in Dallas too. Yeah, over by the airport.
Might have been Dallas, but yeah, what a guy, man, just amazing. But so all right, so you're afraid, you don't want to go to the mailbox again. I know what that's like. And you're down and out, you're living with your mom. Like, how do you turn it around, man? Like, when's that? Like, I know you said, obviously we're talking about personal development, you're in your Saturn listening to tapes because I'm 46, so we're pretty much the same age. What's next? Like, what was that? Dan Coyle was on my podcast and he wrote the book, The Talent Code. And he talks about the ignition moment. Like, what was it for you to, like, was there a tape? Was there a moment you're like, oh man, like I can turn this thing around?
Yeah, you know what? I'm not sure exactly. Well, I'll tell you when it was, but let me just kind of backtrack just a little bit. Here's how much I valued learning, and I think this is really important. There was on my car, my Saturn car, the tread started to show. Like there's a couple wires sticking out the side, right?
Yeah.
And I needed to get obviously new tires. And so one of my buddies called me and says, "Hey, there's this training event in California," and I'm like, "Dude, like I got to get my airfare. Like, how's it all work?" Well, I figured it out. I didn't get new tires on my car. I decided to delay. Obviously, I drove like 30 miles an hour on the side streets, never went on the highway. I don't recommend anybody doing that. That was just my situation. But that was the choice that I made. And I'm glad that I went because, see, the more you have to pay and sacrifice to get something, the more you're going to get out of that thing, right? We've all heard, when you pay attention. Well, I paid a lot. For me, that was a lot of money and a lot of sacrifice because I didn't know what was going to happen to my tire. I still had to get back to my part-time job. Right. So, it was crazy, but the corner that turned for me, here's my ignition moment. I was at a seminar in New York. It was a blizzard. It was about, 250, 350 people there. And it was a home-based business kind of seminar, generic thing. And Saturday night they had kind of a sermon, right? They kind of sold it to us. Hey, if you're fearful, if you don't have a lot of confidence in yourself, yada, yada, you need to show up Saturday night. I'm like, okay, whatever, I'm there. So I go and she starts talking about, difference in it, this book called God at Work. And there's certain people that are anointed to be a king in the marketplace, like business people. And then there's certain people that are anointed to be kings, priests in the church. And it's like, in that book, it was talking about these successful business people that kind of made it to the top of business. And so they go, well, I guess the next phase for me is to go start a church or something. And they go try to start a church and then it wouldn't work. They go back to business, it would flourish. Try to go start a church, it wouldn't work. So those people were anointed to be kings in the marketplace because God's everywhere. Doesn't matter. And so to me, what happened for me was, it was like, okay, maybe this business thing, I need to be successful because, God planted the seed in my heart to be successful. So like, I'm taking you through my mind process here during the seminar. The other thing was, she was talking about the top influencers in the world, and the church was like below top 20. The top influencers were celebrities, people that make a lot of money, business people, and athletes. Right.
Right.
And so she goes, look, you got to go learn these. She's challenging us, right? You got to go learn these skills so you can go make a lot of money so you can be of good influence. And like, that just like hit me really hard. That was like my Optimus Prime moment, man. It was like, that is the reason why I wanted to be successful.
Transformers reference there, but
exactly. There we go, baby. And that was the moment to where it was like, okay, that's why I want to be successful, because I had this thing where I like to learn. I like to kind of repeat what I learned. Like, hey man, let me tell you what I learned today. Like, that was just me. Right. And so I finally figured out that that was the reason why I wanted to be successful. I wanted to go help people and impact people. But at the same time, I want you to, everybody to get this. I didn't have a lot of money. So guess what? I looked at everybody like a dollar sign. My vibe that I was giving off was, hey, buy this thing for me or whatever. And so, but that seminar, it clicked for me. So my come from was different. And it was, how do I impact people? How do I help people? It was just the music coming out of my mouth sounded differently. So I called a couple of my sales teammates that were on my sales team, and they go, Jefferson, you sound different. And I'm like, really? And I just said, hey, here's what I learned. We got to get together. I got to tell you about all this stuff. So it was this little bitty thing, but it was just where I was coming from, right? I wasn't trying to chase after this bouncy beach ball that keeps on floating away from me called money. It was, I needed to be this person, this leader, this bigger mission of, okay, this is like a marketplace ministry. That was just what happened for me. That was my turning point to where it was, it sounds cliche, but helping other people and making a positive impact.
Yeah, it's funny, man. So you hear that a lot, right? And
Yeah.
again, we were connected on Clubhouse, and you hear a lot of people talk about adding value, and I just want to serve, and I want to help
Yeah.
people, and all this stuff. And it's really kind of hard to determine what is real because a lot of people have learned exactly what you're talking about. But when you like you said, we mentioned Zig Ziglar, and Tony Robbins and some of these other people, when you're around these people and when you really dissect, their soul, right, and really kind of who they are, you realize that, hey, man, like that works. Like what you're talking about works, and so if you're listening right now, and rather than chasing the money, Zig Ziglar talks about being able to help others without expectation of compensation, and then the compensation will eventually come. And it's hard though to think about that when you are broke, right? Like when you don't have anything, but you want to help other people. But the greatest part about helping other people is you can help other people, and you don't need money to do that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things I did a lot, I was really good at, is connecting. I was a connector. I was like, hey, so and so. Hey, let me introduce you guys. Like we at Friday nights, we would do. There's this bar restaurant place over in Addison, Texas, that used to be there. It's not there anymore. Called Champs. And I think it started in Colorado or something, but had a franchise down in it. And it was Friday night. It was like, I mean, it was just bustling over there. And so we invite all of our friends there. We'd have a couple drinks or whatever. And we would just kind of network, and I would introduce people to my business partner, and then we'd edify each other and be like, hey, so and so, man, we're doing this thing together. And that I just got good at doing that because we learned the whole edification process, how to build people up, how to introduce two people that don't know each other, and basically, kind of not feed their resumes to each other, but like, this guy's a badass, this gal's a badass, y'all need to meet. Like, that's a better way of introducing people together,
Right.
versus like, hey, John meet Mary, Mary meet John. They're like, who the hell are you? It's like, you got to edify them properly. And I'm telling you, just by doing that, you're adding value to somebody. Just by, just like the other Mike, introduced us
Right.
via email. He connected us. He
It's
added
so much,
value to us.
it's so much easier to do that. I just wrote that down, it's funny. I'm writing a book right now, and the title of it is called Connection Capital. And again, when I talk about, I looked at your background, and I looked, and we're very similar as far as, in age and everything. We just grew up in different. I mean, our hair is even pretty damn close. And so it's really powerful what you said. And again, the book I'm writing, it's called Connection Capital, but it'll be out probably next year. But what you said is the very essence of it, right? So if you have nothing, to like no cash or whatever, and you can't really necessarily get on, your private jet and go hang out with Grant Cardone in Miami or whatever, but like you said, you can connect with other people. And you hear about the whole, your net worth is in fact your network. Like that's a real thing, right? Like to be able to connect with, and the other part too is, when you talk about being at the bar or what have you, that's probably not the best place to make a bunch of connections, but you got to start somewhere. And eventually one of those connections turns into something big, right?
Yeah. I mean, and there was a strategy to it though. Like,
Sure.
that's the thing. It's like, for me, and some people, they're obviously, we all different personality types. Some people, they don't know when to stop the fifth drink or whatever, but
Turn it off,
for me,
right?
yeah, for me, it was like, okay, one drink, you get a little bit kind of looser and like, okay, a little liquid courage in a way, just because it's Friday night. Right.
Right.
But the max I would do is two. That was
Right.
it.
Yeah.
And because I knew that when people start slurring words and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff, that's a huge turnoff, man.
Right.
You can't be an amateur hour, freaking start networking, slurring
Right.
words, man. You're
you
like
gotta meet
out.
this
You know what
guy.
I'm
I just met this guy. He's the best. Yeah. Right.
It's the best. It's like, no, man. It's like, it's not going to work, right? So you got to
Right.
go in there with an intention of, okay, you're going to enjoy life, but not be a lush, right? And the other thing too is we got to be careful of the trap. And I think that there's so much personal development out there for those of us that are in these circles.
Sure.
You can hear the same freaking phrases a gazillion times, and then we almost get cynical on it. And that's where you have to really get present and be like, okay, if you heard this cliche statement of whatever, question is, you go, well, am I actually doing that? And if I'm doing it, am I doing it consistently? Am I doing it in excellence? Am I teaching other people how to do what I just heard? Right. So that's the next level of personal development. I think for all of us is there's like X amount of 55 separate little phrases, probably a lot more than that, but you know what I'm saying? We're all hearing,
Sure.
Help others and add value and all these things. Let me piggyback. Let me veggie back. I'm hearing all these things on Clubhouse. It's funny.
I want to piggyback. I want to piggyback on that.
Yeah. I mean, all that stuff, but we got to be careful not to be cynical about that, because what other words are you going to use? There's only so many words you can use, right? On all these things. And so it's like, okay, just look at the subject matter. Are they saying something you've never heard before? Or are they saying it in a way it's like, you know what? Reflect on yourself. It's like, okay, yeah, I've heard that a million times. Why am I being cynical about it? Well, shit, I'm not really doing it. That's probably why I'm being cynical about it. I'm judging them for saying that, and I'm not even freaking doing it. Right. So we got to be careful of that trap.
Yeah. You know what? In a second, I want to talk to you about a little bit more about that trap. I want to talk to you about how we have we have a book that both changed our lives. I want to talk a little bit about that and how, it really is, kind of helped transform you, your life and your family. We're on with Jefferson Santos, just listening to this guy. He's obviously done some great things. He's motivating me. He's standing up, which I got to start doing that. I got to stand up when I'm doing the podcast. I got to get one of those desks, because I could certainly use to burn some extra calories. If you'd like some more information about Jefferson, you can just go to connectwithjefferson.com. He's on Instagram, Jefferson F. Santos. You can just go to his website as well, jeffersonsantos.com. He's doing some great things. He's written a book as well as a couple of years ago with Morgan James. And I know the guys over there at Morgan's. It's called Higher Life Design. Arriving at your intended destination, healthy, wealthy, and happy, which is, something that's really, really important to me, is happiness. So if you want to pick up his book, you can as well. So let's talk about books real quick. So I got all these books behind me. I've written a bunch of books, and, I saw your interview with John Lee Dumas, and you mentioned the book that changed my life, The Magic of Thinking Big. Tell me a little bit about that book and kind of how, it really helped you, because I think he asked you two of your favorite books, and that was one of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, it rocked me, man. I was like, holy crap, because it's free. It's free to think, right? And, if you're going to think, might as well think big, right?
Right.
And one of the things was that quote, I think it's towards the beginning, it's talking about, don't have the second best mentality, even though, let's say you're following your mentor, you're learning from your mentor, but don't think you can pass up. You could pass up your mentor, not in a egotistical, let me show you kind of way, but guess what? They're teaching you all their stuff. They can't teach you what they don't know. They can only teach you what you know. And then you can learn from other people too. Right. And
Right.
So I think that second best mentality is keeping a lot of people back and realizing, man, I mean, it's awesome when I've got leaders in my teams that some of them are crushing it, passing me up in certain facets. And that is amazing. And that's a testament to the leadership, because that's the whole point, is getting them to grow beyond what you're doing. Right. I mean, we teach our kids to grow and leave us, not because they want to, but that's just a natural thing to do. Right. You got to equip them for the world. And I think that as a leader, put my leadership hat on, that's what we do. Our job isn't to create more followers. Our job is to create more leaders who create more leaders.
Yeah, I mean, it's a definite sign of insecurity where, where if you're afraid of your people that work around you or with you surpass you because of your just own insecurities. When in fact, when you look at the most successful people in the world, that's exactly how they think, right? And what I love about The Magic of Thinking Big is just the title as well. It's the magic of thinking big, right? Not dreaming. I always tell people all the time that, dreaming's for sleeping. Let's start thinking about big things. Let's start doing big things. And you will in fact become, whoever it is, you want to be. And you touched upon this earlier, just before I did the quick little break there, about how this stuff works, right? So in being cynical, how do you get through to somebody who, again, is down and out, who sees these success principles, they hear people talking, maybe they've read a couple books, and then just like, you know what, man, like, that shit just doesn't work. You talk about that and how it really does work, and how your mind truly can change, not only your perspective, but can change everything just by the way you think.
Yeah. I mean, it's easy to be cynical. I've never seen a statue of a critic or a statue of a cynic, right? It's just, it's freaking easy. Everybody can do it. Right. And that's the easy part. It's like that you're just self-justifying of why you're not accomplishing what you're supposed to be doing. You know what I mean? And so that's like, and I'm raising my hand. I'm not talking at you. I'm talking with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've been cynical. I mean, I get on my little pity party. I'm like, "Rah, the damn quote. Like I've been saying that for 20 years and all this shit. And I hear all this stuff and I'm like complaining under my breath. I'm like, what am I freaking doing? You
Right.
know,
Right.
but we're human beings. We're not robots. I mean, we're going to have our emotions and our things and our things in our mind. But here's the thing. I asked myself this. I'm like, okay, what's the alternative? Am I just going to sit here and complain and let the bills stack up and, get everything repoed and lose everything I've worked for? Or am I going to freaking step up and fight and be a man, or be a woman, right?
Right.
Women that are listening to. And so it's like, and then I got two little boys. They're 7 and 8, about to be 9. So 7 and 9 at this point. I gotta be a role model. I gotta be an example, not only to people in business and my team, my sales teams and stuff and all that, but to my boys and also my wife. And so it's interesting because my wife sees me on these, interviews, podcasts, as I'm doing Zooms and trainings and stuff. And then she sees me on stage and all that. And here's the thing, like when you're married or you're in a very close relationship, they could call you on your shit real fast. It's like, okay, you just said this over here, but you're not doing this over there.
Right.
Right. And the thing is I don't ever want her to say that to me. And that might sound like, well, you should want it for yourself. Well, of course. Yeah. But it's like, what motivates me, right? What motivates you. And so it's like, I got to pay mental gymnastics with myself to like, it's like, the whole Tony Robbins, do things for pleasure, do things to avoid pain. Right. Well, pain for me is my wife standing in front of me going, wait a second, you said all these things to these thousands of people and you're not doing it. That for me would crush me. And so I never want to ever put myself in that situation. And so that's what motivates me. Like the other thing, it was funny. When I talk about prospecting and stuff and invite, because whether you're in real estate or mortgage or whatever, you're prospecting for clients, right? So I would do this whole to, do what I'm supposed to do. Like, how do I get myself to make one more phone call, or how do I get myself to read that one more book? Where it's kind of like this. It's kind of like, well, if I don't reach out to someone and prospect them, well, they can never be a possibly not a suspect or a prospect. And if they're not a prospect, I can't pitch them, the product or the service, right? And if I can't pitch them that, I can't make a sale. If I can't make a sale, I can't make any money. If I can't make any money, then I can't pay my bills. If I can't pay my bills, I'm going to go broke. And then I'm going to be hungry and I can't eat. And then I'm hungry. Then I'm going to starve. And then I'm going to die.
Yeah.
It's like that's me in my head playing mental gymnastics to get me to do the thing I'm supposed to do anyway. So I just carried it all the way to the nth degree. If I didn't do what I'm supposed to do, what is it going to end up being? Well, I'm probably going to die. That's not really the case, but it's like, at least I feel bad about myself. Right. But it's like, if I don't pick up my bootstraps, if I don't get off my ass and go do something, then why am I even here? And so I understand that those of you that might be listening right now, and you're at a situation where you're just like, man, I'm really frustrated. Me too. I mean, I've quit many, many times in a day. I've quit many, many times in a week. And then I call someone that I know that knows more than me. I go listen to something. I listen to my favorite music. I go listen to read a book that I've read 15 times or something again. What am I missing here? Right. And so that's what I'm always looking for. So that's a healthy way to think is, my belief and my faith carried me until my skills could catch up. Maybe your skill's not there yet, and that's okay. We all have that learning curve that we're going to have, right? And I think with social media right now, it's over a decade now, right? It is a little harder, I think, because you see the other people's chapter 55 million in your chapter 1, right? But you got to start somewhere. And what's the alternative? Just wait for something to happen? No, you got to go make it happen yourself.
Yeah, again, I just like, how real you are too, and the things you're saying there too, like, hey, you know what, man, I've given up, or I don't feel like doing this sometimes too, because I think a lot of people, when they do see, the Instagram heroes and these, people that they see the success and they see the watches and the cars and the, you look on some of your stuff, I know that you talk about you go on vacation a lot. I think you say once a month. I don't know, with COVID, it's probably a little bit different, but you do the things that are good for you. For your family and for your mental health, but at the same time, you are real, and you can, you do in fact preach success principles and show people how to do it, and you help people all over the world. But at the same time, you are human. We're all human. Like sometimes, man, you you just don't feel like doing shit sometimes.
Exactly,
right?
man.
Right. And that's okay too, right? It's okay to do that. But I think, like, talk about that. I mean, it's okay to do that once in a while, but just also being able to recognize that and just being self-aware, right? And not like
right.
self-doubting.
Bingo. Do you 100%? I mean, don't let a bad moment turn into a bad day.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Don't let a bad day turn into a bad month. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, I get it. It's like, I think the difference between unsuccessful people and successful people is like, how long do they hold on to something bad, right? You know, one of the acronyms that I learned a long time ago, my buddy Brendon Burchard, is RWID, relative weight of importance and duration.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, you're driving down the road, somebody cuts you off, right? And so now, how much relative weight of importance and duration are you going to hold on to that anger of that person cutting you off? That could have been somebody rushing their kid to the ER, and they didn't give a crap who you were. They didn't even know who you are, and they cut you off. Okay, cool. You know, water off a duck's back. Maybe you hold on to it for 2 minutes. Some people hold on to it for literally all day, and they bring it into the workspace, and then they bring it into the work meeting that they have at 9 a.m. and they jack up their entire career because they got mad at someone that they should have let go of that cut them off on the road, right?
Yeah.
And then the other things that
such a common thing, man. That's so common too. I've heard other people talk about that. Heard Damon John talk about that at one point, and you know, it's and not only that too, right? But the true physical things that happen, like the chemicals that are released within your body, have a detrimental effect on your body itself too, right?
Yeah. And so when the good things happen in your life, you know, how much relative weight of importance and duration are you putting on those?
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes we do something good. We get a front row parking spot at Target or Target or wherever you're at, right? And celebrate that, integrate that. We are what we integrate. I talk about that in my book, The Integration Effect. And I was like, you know, it's easy to integrate bad stuff, but we are what we integrate. What's your identity? It's what you integrate. So if you're integrating the good things that happen, even if they're small, that helps with your self-esteem. Right. And so you got to look at RWID, relative weight of importance and duration. What kind of and then other people's opinions. You're putting too much relative weight of importance and duration to somebody who's sitting on a couch, you know, eating Lay's potato chips, you know, versus somebody that is giving you good advice, that is successful, that wants to help you. And then you're just kind of brushing them off because they're one of those successful people and you're judging them. Well, guess what? If you judge a successful person, you're never going to be successful ever.
Right.
Ever.
How do you deal with, I think you kind of touched, like, how do you deal with people who, you know, let's say, you know, are maybe even seeking help out from you, or a lot of times for me, it's, you know, like my actual friends, kids that I grew up with, or family members, and they can say, Mike, you know, can you help me? Or they ask for advice, and then you give them advice and you say, here are the things you should need to do. And then they don't do it. At what point do you, as someone who coaches people and trains people and just gets on big stages, at what point do you, I don't know if the giving up is the right term, but you know, at what point do the relative weight just no longer becomes bearable, so to speak?
Yeah. We call those people ask holes, right?
Yeah.
They ask for advice and they never do it.
Right.
Yeah. So for me, you know, it's one of those things where it's so weird, man. It's like, I guess I never give up, but I don't have like a gazillion people messaging me going, can you help me? Can you help me? Can you help me? But here's once again, the beautiful part about Instagram and Facebook Messenger and all these messaging platforms. Now you can just do a quick audio note, which takes 30 seconds, right? Or a minute. Right. So that's what I've been doing. I mean, I don't hop on a call. I don't hop on a Zoom and do this formal thing. It's like, hey man, you know, or if I have a video or some other book that I've read, I'd recommend that to them. You know, I'll send them a link on Amazon, you know, something free that I've already done. I mean, that's one thing that really, I'm really glad I've done a lot of the free stuff, because then I can just give those out. And I feel good because I am helping them, because they didn't know that I even had some of those things. So it's like, hey, here's a link to this. Here's a link to that video. Hey, you know what? I saw this other video on YouTube. Hey, here's a link to that. And then I'm kind of done. Right. And if they come back to me, I just say, hey, did you watch those things? And they say, well, you know, I said, look, man, you got to do it first. You got to help yourself.
Jefferson, why is it though that most people don't? Because, you know, there's a great story that, you know, the infomercial that essentially discovered Tony Robbins was with a company called Guthy-Renker, Proactive, people know that. And one of their first infomercials was for a cassette tape series on Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And they tell a great story how they sent out 100,000 of these tapes, 100,000 of them. And they realized after the fact that the tapes were blank. There was nothing on them. Sent them out and they got zero returns, zero complaints. And so, and which is it's a crazy story. And I've kind of, maybe it took some creative, my own creative spin on it. But so why is it that people, these assholes, they want more, they want the things that you have, they see your success, they see other people's success, and then you give them the stuff. And you, like you said, you can go to your websites and you give out some great free content. You're doing all sorts, your speeches are all over the place. You've been on a bunch of podcasts, people can listen to you. Why don't people do shit, man? Like, what is it? Like, where is the blockage? I just, help me with that.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I want the answer, man. I want the answer.
The answer. Well, why ask why? Why don't sign up for that class? I mean, that'd be if we could get that answer, we'd be trillionaires right now, bro. You know what I'm saying? I think it boils down to courage.
Sure.
And I'll just, I'm just kind of thinking about like, why do I know there's certain things that I'm supposed to go do. Like, why don't I do those things? Part of it's courage.
Sure.
And I think that in order to get, or they go in their head, they're like, when I get more confidence, then I'm going to go do this thing. Right. Well, here's how you get confidence is number one, you make a commitment that you're going to go do the thing. Number two is you have to display the courage. That's the part that sucks. That's the rejection. That's the uncomfortable feeling. That's the butterflies in your stomach. That's where you're going to crap your pants or wet your pants or whatever. But courage is wetting your pants and doing it anyway. Courage is feeling the fear and doing it anyway, right? And just moving through that. And that courage part could take weeks and months, even years, depending on what kind of business that you're in or what you're trying to do. If you're trying to be an expert ballroom dancer or hip hop dancer or whatever, you're learning Mandarin, I don't know. And then once you learn it and you go through the uncomfortable phase, which is where everybody quits, then you realize you have a new capability, and that new capability gives you the confidence, right? But it's the action that you have to do. And I don't know, I can't, here's the thing.
That's it, man. I think you answered it. I mean, I think that is the answer. And it's such a it's a great thing. You're right. A lot of people lack the courage, and I think a lot of people, when they think about courage and, they read these other books or they watch movies or stories and they think about courage, but they don't understand that courage is a real thing. It's an attribute that we all have. We just need to be able to push through some of these things. It's Winston Churchill said, if you go ahead.
Yeah. And Hollywood makes courage look like confidence, and it's not. Courage is the shit. It's the crappiest feeling. It's like, oh my God, it's the reluctant leader. It's like, it's like having to step out and say the thing that nobody else is going to say, it's all that stuff, man. And that's the part that, people just don't step up enough. And I think that if you just turned up your courage meter, you were a little bolder, I think that your life would be better, and that's me too. It's like, there's times where literally I'm about to jump on stage and speak, and I'm just like, this is weird, man. It's like, sometimes I'm like nervous, excited, that they call that performance edge. Right. And then sometimes I'm just scared, excited. And I'm like, man, can somebody just knock me out real quick? And then I just, Jefferson's stick, he can't make it. He's going to speak some other time. Like, seriously, like all kinds of stuff going through my head. But when my feet hits the stage, it's over. It's like, changes, okay, get that first sentence out, get the first question out, and you've got to serve all these people and get over yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the thing. We got to get over ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, it's great too, because I mean, I've had Les Brown on my podcast. I've talked to him offline a couple of times, and he talked about how he, when he spoke in the classic, he's got a couple great classic speeches, but the one where, if it's not over till I win, in front of 80,000 people and in the Georgia Dome, and he talks about how when you talk about peeing your pants, he's like, Michael, I told him, I said, I don't want to go out on stage. I feel like I'm going to pee my pants, and when I was practicing law, I remember when the first few times I had to get up in a courtroom, which is such a great training to get on stage in front of a judge, when you're in front of a judge and there's a gallery and and I was talking to this lawyer who'd been at it for a long time. I looked at him, I said, man, it was one of the first times I had to, argue a case. And I said, man, I'm really nervous. I said, do you get nervous? And he happened to actually be from Texas. I don't know why he was in Massachusetts. And he said, the day I stop getting nervous is the day I stop practicing law. So we all get nervous, and we all have to just kind of push through that stuff. Whether we're speaking, whatever it is we're doing, you just have to push through that. And like you said, as soon as you're on stage and those first few words come out, it kind of all goes away, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when you get that first hit after kickoff too.
Exactly. Well, man, I'm super excited that we did connect. I'm glad you've been able to make it and spend some time with us. Before I do let you go, do you have any, maybe kind of last words of wisdom, some things that you 100%, can help anybody, the things that you've done, like, hey, these are the things that I've done with my life. I've been down and out. I've dealt with struggles. I've dealt with personal struggles. I've dealt with business struggles. These are the things that I know will work for you. Is there some sort of, maybe tip or strategy that you can give some of the viewers and listeners right now?
Yeah, sure. Just kind of wrapping up here. I mean, there's a book that I read a long time ago called, um, it was from John Eldridge, and it was called Wild at Heart. And in that book, it talks about an eagle is designed, or its desire in its heart is to fly. Okay. So it's designed with all the right parts to fly. So its destiny is to fly. Okay. So it's desire, design, and destiny, right? Same thing with a tiger. Tiger is desire, wants to hunt. It is designed with all the right parts, big claws, it's fast, all that. Its destiny is to hunt, right? So for us, our desire is to be successful. Okay. You wouldn't be listening to this podcast if you didn't want to be successful. So you are designed with all the right parts to be successful. So your destiny is success. So let me prove that to you real quick. When we were born, we're born with these 5 things. Okay. And every successful person has these 5 things. Number 1, it is persistence, the gift of persistence. We're all born with it. Show me any 3-year-old that doesn't want candy, or toy at the grocery store, right? Okay. And then you got we got persistence. And then I'm trying to remember all the stuff here. We got persistence. And then we got the gift to get over it. Okay. So how many of us, like, okay, my 7-year-old, when he was 5, got knocked over by our dog, Nashville, got knocked over. He cried for a second, like literally 2 seconds, got back up, started playing again. He got over it. He didn't get all his friends in the neighborhood to then sue the dog breeder because the dog knocked him over. He got over it. Right. And then it's the gift of faith, right? It's, how many of us got excited when we heard like hoofs on the roof during Christmas time and jingle bells. And we thought Santa Claus was there. We believed in a jolly old fellow that was going to come down the chimney we didn't even have. Right. It was that gift of faith that we were born with. Right. And so persistence, the gift to get over it, the gift of faith. Every successful person has faith. I mean, how did a billionaire become a billionaire? How did Elon Musk, become Elon Musk? Well, he had faith that he was going to do something at first. Something's going to happen. Somebody's going to buy a Tesla, the first Tesla, right? Something's going to happen there, right? There's, when he almost pretty much was borrowing rent to pay, as he was trying to put together SpaceX and Tesla and all that stuff, after he spent all his money investing in all those companies, after he took his money from PayPal, and the exit there, he had to have faith that it was going to happen, right? He had to have persistence that it was going to happen. And so, and there's other things too. I got some speeches somewhere. I'll find the other ones, but well,
I don't want to, I'm trying to, I wanted to end this, but the whole, the 3-year-old story is such a powerful thing. I've heard that before. I've talked about that before. When you think about children, because they haven't been taught certain things, but when you do talk about that persistence, and it's such a powerful thing, right? So when a child does learn how to walk, right, they fall down, they get up, they fall down, they get up, they fall down, they bang their head, they get a bruise, but they never stop trying to get up and walk, right?
Exactly.
Like you said,
I remember the other 2 now.
Yeah. Good. I'm glad.
Yeah. Cause like my brain is like, I'm all excited. It's like, okay. So here are the 5 things that we're born with. All right. It's persistence. I already talked about that. Enthusiasm. Show me any kid that's not enthusiastic about life, right? Show me any successful person that's not enthusiastic about their product or their service or their mission. Right. And then there's the adventurous spirit. You got, Sir Richard Branson still jumping out of planes or whatever he's doing. Like, he's a billionaire, right? He's got this adventurous spirit. Where did it go? See, as adults, sometimes we trade that in for security. And no, that's where the juice of life is. Right. And we talked about the gift to get over it. We talked about the gift of faith. And so once again, it's enthusiasm, it's persistence, it's the adventurous spirit, it's the gift to get over it, and it's the gift of faith. Those 5 things we're all born with. And every successful person has them. Okay. So you just got to get back to those 5 things because it's already in you. You just got to go pull it out and use it again.
I love it. I love it, man. Thanks so much for being here. Thanks for being you. I'm so happy that we connected with our good friend, Michael Auschler. By the way, I've known Michael for years, and we connected and we talked about connection on Clubhouse as well. So we've been on with Jefferson Santos, man. I just love how real you are. He's doing some great things. If you'd like some more information about him, you can just go to connectwithjefferson.com. You can also go to jeffersonsantos.com. His Instagram is jeffersonsantos.com. This is why I love doing the Alden Report, to bring to you real people that are doing real things, living real lives, living real struggles, and continuing to do it as well. So again, I'm super excited that you were able to join us. My name is Michael Alden. That's Jefferson Santos, and we'll see you soon. Hey, it's Mike Alden. I hope you're enjoying the Alden Report as much as I am. I love bringing to you new and exciting people that add value to your life. I'm also super excited to announce my latest book, Bestseller Secrets. Listen, if you're an author, maybe you're thinking about writing a book, maybe you've already written a book, maybe you're an entrepreneur and you want to continue to grow your brand, maybe you're an entrepreneur and you want to bring in more leads, maybe you're a stay-at-home mom and you wrote a cookbook or a children's book, maybe you wrote a fantasy book, a self-help book, a tell-all book, a novel. It doesn't really matter. In my latest book, Bestseller Secrets, I give you all the information that I've literally spent millions of dollars trying to figure this thing out, and I'm going to give it to you absolutely free with my book, Bestseller Secrets. Go to bestsellersecretsbook.com. Again, it's bestsellersecretsbook.com. I give you all the information that I've spent literally millions of dollars trying to figure this whole world out. My books have gone on to do amazing things. I'm a 3-time Wall Street Journal, USA Today bestselling author. I've hit #1 on Amazon hundreds of times. My books have been the #1 book in the world against all books in every category. And I've also done this for other authors. And I'm giving you this information absolutely free. Just go to bestsellersecretsbook.com. You got to pay a small processing fee, but it doesn't really matter, again, because I've spent millions of dollars. And here's the other secret. You can do all this stuff yourself. If you don't have a team, that's okay. If you don't have a lot of time, that's okay. You read the information in my book, again, whether you just started writing a book, whether you've written the book, whether you wrote the book years ago, and you want to kind of resurrect it. In my book, Bestseller Secrets, I show you exactly what you need to do, and I'm giving you the book absolutely free. Go to bestsellersecretsbook.com, download the book, take that information, use it to become a bona fide, legitimate #1 bestseller. I show you how to become a #1 bestseller in less than 24 hours. And again, I'm giving you this information for free. Go to bestsellersecretsbook.com. Again, it's bestsellersecretsbook.com.